Hello, we are continuing with our lesson. Welcome back from Phylum Biofighter, and I hope you enjoyed the ferns and the mosses. And I hope now you also know how to differentiate the mosses and the ferns, their structure, and also their life cycles. And very important that I want you to note also is how to describe the alternation of generations in ferns and mosses. I hope you do that. That will be very good. Be a good boy and a good girl. So let's proceed with phylum Coniferophyta. Let's pronounce together. Phylum Coniferophyta. These are conifers. These are conifers. Organisms that are called conifers or corn-bearing plants. They include the cedars, the orchards, the Christmas trees, the firs, the pines, spruce, and the rest. I hope you at least know one of those ones I have mentioned. At least the pine. Do you know a pine tree or Christmas tree? Well, that's great. Those are the plants we are going to look at. And they belong to a phylum that we call Coniferophyta. Those are some of them. We have the pine tree. I hope you have ever seen that one. Together with that structure you have seen. That structure is called a cone. And is what makes these members belong to phylum Coniferophyta. They bear cones. And also as they grow like a cone shape. And we shall see. We have seen the cedar tree. If you are given to draw a 2D diagram of that tree, it looks like a cone. It's pointed upwards. So all these members look like that. We have the balsam fir. This one sometimes used as Christmas tree. You must have seen this one as well, though it's not so common. The Christmas tree we have is also in the fir family, but may not be necessarily the balsam fir. The characteristics of the conifers: they bear cones on which the spore-producing sporangia and seeds develop. So in the cones there is where we have the seeds. I showed you the cones of the pines. And when you go to a mature pine tree, you'll be able to see very many cones. They lack fruits and flowers. I don't know whether you have ever seen a pine tree with flowers. If you see, please let me know. We shall need to discover more about that tree. Otherwise, they are not supposed to bear flowers. They don't bear flowers, but they bear cones that have seeds inside. The seed is naked. What does that mean? It's not enclosed by the ovary wall, meaning they do not have fruits that cover the seeds. So the seeds are naked. Leaves are usually needle-like with a thick wax cuticle. So you have seen the pine leaves probably, or Christmas tree leaves. They are like needles. They are very small, thin. Yes. So what is the economic importance of members? These trees are planted, by the way, especially pine trees are popularly planted all over in the planted forests as a source of softwood for timber. They use it as softwood for making paper, pulp, plywood, and so on, and furniture. And then the pine nuts are used for cooking. So in case you have not been knowing, you can use those nuts, those cones from the pine tree, and they can cook very well. Only you need to discover how to use them. The moment you learn, you can be able to use them as an alternative source of energy. The spruce and the firs are used as Christmas trees. Yeah, during Christmas, one of these days people make artificial Christmas trees which are plastic, but the original Christmas trees are there, and they are the ones we could use. And the spruce and the firs are beautiful and even smell. They have a very good smell. So those are the conifers. Let's go to our last phylum for the plants for now. Phylum Angiospermophyta. Phylum Angiospermophyta. Angiospermophyta. Great. This phylum includes all plants that bear flowers. They include all plants that bear flowers, all flowering plants. If you have ever seen a plant with flowers, maize, tomatoes, tobacco, cotton, rose, and any other flowering plant, they belong to this phylum. And I know you like them, right? They flower, or they have flowers in which the sporangia or spores and seeds develop. So from the flower is where you will have the seeds. After flowers, then you will eventually get the seeds later. The seeds are enclosed in the ovary. That is true. I know the ovary eventually develops into a fruit after fertilization. There are two major classes in this phylum. Class Monocotyledonii. Let's pronounce together class Monocotyledonii. And then the other one is class Dicotyledonii. Class Dicotyledonii. So those are the two major classes in phylum Angiospermophyta. Monocotyledonii are the monocots or the monocotyledonous plants. Then Dicotyledonii are the dicotyledonous plants. And I know you know them very well. At least this one, you must be knowing them. So let's go through the differences between monocots and dicots. So in monocots, the embryo sac has one seed leaf or one cotyledon. That's where their name comes from. Monocot, one cotyledon. Then dicot, they have two seed leaves or two cotyledons in their seeds. That is true. Monocots, one cotyledon. Dicots, two cotyledons. That is their distinguishing characteristic. The others are, the monocots have scattered vascular bundles in the stem. I hope you have ever eaten sugarcane. You will see the vascular bundles are scattered all over the stem, and it's almost sponge, and they are not compact together. Then in dicots, they have a ring vascular bundles in the stem, which are usually compact together. In monocots, the flower parts are usually in threes or in multiples of threes. So you look at the one for the guinea grass or for maize flowers, you'll be able to count the petals and the other flower parts. They are always either 3 or 6 or 9 and so on. They are either 3 or in multiples of 3. Then in dicots, the flower parts are usually in 4s or 5s or multiples of 4s or 5s. If you've seen one for hibiscus, you realize that there are 5 petals, 5 sepals, like that. The one for morning glory flower, you can also see, you count them, how many petals, how many sepals are there. You realize that they are either 4 or 5 or the multiples of those numbers. In monocots, the calyx and the corolla, the calyx are the sepals collectively, then the corolla are the petals. They are not usually easy to distinguish for the monocots. It's not easy to distinguish the petals from the sepals. Meanwhile, for the dicots, it's very easy to distinguish sepals from petals in the flower. The monocots, they are usually wind pollinated. Yeah, you know this one quite well. You know that they produce very light pollen grains that are numerous, that they can be blown by wind. You can see one for maize. These days there is maize, flowering maize, so you can see and try to shake the maize plant. You will see very many pollen grains falling. Then dicots, they are often insect pollinated, and usually their pollen grains are sticky and sometimes few in number. Then for monocots, they have narrow leaves with parallel venation. That's great. And then for dicots, they have broad leaves with a network venation. So those are some of the differences between monocots and dicots. So members, these plants in general, whatever we have looked at, the plants, they usually have problems surviving in the terrestrial habitat where they are living. And being there is not obvious that the plant will survive. They have to withstand very many difficulties, and they also have to overcome the challenges in their habitats. One of them, the challenges they have is that they risk drying out or to desiccate. They can lose water easily, and they can easily dry out. You have seen this. When dry season, very many plants succumb to the season. Others, they have a challenge to maintain their support in the air when they are on land. The air can blow, and if you are not strong enough, if the plant is not well grounded, it may go with the air, the wind. So that is another challenge they are facing. And some plants indeed have been blown by wind and they fall down. They also have a challenge of obtaining nutrients. And remember, nutrients are usually got from the soil. So there is a challenge there. It's not obvious that nutrients can be obtained, the nitrates that they need for their plant proteins. So they must have a mechanism of getting those nutrients. Another challenge they have is obtaining gases for respiration. Gases are in the atmosphere, well, but obtaining them needs a mechanism. So that's another challenge they face. Movement of reproductive gametes, as you saw earlier, that some gametes require water to swim. Yeah, you saw the flagella, the flagellated sperms or the ciliated sperms of the bryophytes. Yeah, so sometimes what about if there is no water? It means fertilization will not take place, or reproduction in general will be impaired. Well, even in higher plants, they still need water to move to form their pollen tubes. Environmental variables such as light intensity, some places are there too much light or little light. Others, temperature is very high or very low, pH, and so on. Those are challenges that plants face in the where they live. We need to know them, yeah. And then we have, how are these seed-bearing plants adapted to live on land now? Amidst the challenges they have, how have they coped up to live on land better? Which structures have they developed? And which behaviors have they developed now to be able to live, to thrive on land? One, the leaves possess stomata for gaseous exchange. So they have numerous stomata. Some plants have very numerous stomata to allow gases to be exchanged. And then other plants, the leaves and stems are covered by a waxy cuticle, which minimizes water loss. Because we said one of the challenges plants face is they are likely to lose water and dry out. So some plants have developed waxy cuticle. You can see that waxy cuticle, which is waterproof and prevents water from evaporating. If you want to confirm, you go to your banana garden and look for any banana leaf and open below the banana leaf, the lower surface. You touch there, there's a powdery sort of substance there which looks like chalk dust on your banana leaf. That one is wax. So it's a waxy cuticle. Remember, banana leaf is very large, and if there was no waxy cuticle, the banana would easily lose a lot of water, and it would be difficult to grow bananas, especially in areas that are relatively hotter. They possess true roots, which enable water and dissolved mineral salts to be absorbed. Yes, many, apart from the lower plants, like the mosses, which of course, and of course their habitats are also limited. But other plants have roots that penetrate deep in the soils to look for water, to search for where water is, so that they can be able to absorb water even from the deeper layers. Yeah, so some plants have very long roots that either grow deep underground or even on the side, on the surface, to reach out to where water is. So that's one of the adaptations. Other plants undergo secondary growth, which enables seed bearing to compete effectively for light and other resources. So they grow bigger and larger and longer, so they could easily reach up there and they can support themselves very much. The fertilized ovule or the seed is retained for some time in the parent plant or in the sporophyte, for which it obtains protection and food before dispersal. So the seeds remain inside the fruit until a time when they are mature, until when they are ready to be dispersed. So you can look at those seeds there. Until the purple is ripe, it may be difficult for you to disperse its seeds. So when it is ripe, then the agents of dispersal can easily pick them and disperse them to right places where they will germinate. And this applies to all other plants. Fertilization is not dependent on water, therefore reduces the necessity for water inside the sporophyte, which is well adapted for terrestrial life. So in some plants, they minimize the use of water as an agent for transferring the gametes. So therefore, some of them employ agents, like you can see there, the bees help to transfer the pollen from one plant to another. So there is no need for water in that area. So therefore, such a plant has adapted to live on land much better. So the adaptations above may also be considered as the advantages of seed-bearing plants over mosses and ferns. So what we have just seen, the adaptations of plants there, is what makes the higher plants much better than the lower plants, the mosses and the ferns. Otherwise, I want you to research more about plants and expound, so that you can go and appreciate now different plants wherever they are, and try to classify them, try to identify them, differentiate them, but also most importantly, conserve the plants. There's a lot of damage that has been caused to plants that has caused environmental and climate change. So you are the right person to conserve the plants. If you love nature, if you love yourself, please control plants, and also stay safe and stay at home. Thank you.